A new report on immigration bill currently in the U.S. Senate from the political think tank, the Heritage Foundation, has sparked a feud among Republican conservatives. The report claims the bill will cost American taxpayers $6.3 trillion over the next 50 years. Ira Mehlman is with us via Skype from Seattle. He is the media director for F.A.I.R, F-A-I-R, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, and supports the Heritage Fund report. And here in New York is our guest, Richard Andre, policy associate from the Americas Society and Council of the Americas, where he studies and covers immigration. He is also the editor of the policy journal Americas Quarterly. Welcome to both of you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do appreciate this. Ira, I think I want to start with you. Marco Rubio, who is one of the Gang of Eight that has drafted this legislation, sent a letter to the Heritage Foundation asking them to use a different way of crunching the numbers, if you will, using the dynamic scoring as opposed to a static scoring. Apparently, he was turned down on that. This report is based on that old system of static scoring. So does that make the numbers less reliable?
No, you know, what Robert Rector at the Heritage Foundation has done is look at the real costs over the many years that the people who would gain amnesty would be in this country. He is looking at the years after they gain legalization, well, that when they would be eligible for all the government means-tested programs that are available. We are looking at a population that is largely poorly educated, poorly skilled, and even after they receive amnesty, even if after they have green cards and citizenship, they will still be earning low wages, but over time they will become dependent on a lot of government services simply because they qualify for lack of means. So you have to look at that over the long term, not just the 10 or 15-year window that the CBO generally looks at.
Ira's side, I want to go to Richard, who is here with us. I imagine you take issue with what he just said.
I do. I think that the assumption that if you legalize the 11 million undocumented immigrants currently residing in the United States right now, that they would be in the same kind of socioeconomic status 50 years from now, and that they'd be taking government benefits and paying less taxes in the same trend, I think is false. I think that if you remove the ceiling on educational attainment and professional attainment, and even simple things like getting a driver's license, you'll see that population really thrive. Immigrants come here to make a life for themselves. They come here to work hard, and that's exactly what they do. And I think that you would see significant upward mobility among the undocumented population once they became legalized.
And Ira, isn't that a concession that you can make? I mean, you cannot assume that these 11 million undocumented workers are going to remain both in the situation that they're in, the social and economic status that they're in, or the educational status that they're in, that many of these, if not most of them, will become productive parts of their community and therefore generate income in their community as opposed to be a drag. Is that out of your realm of imagination?
It's not a question of imagination. We're talking about people who, for the most part, are beyond their school age. You know, the adult population, these are people who are out there in the labor force, who are trying to support a family. They don't have the means or the time in most cases to go back and complete their education. As I said, the population generally is poorly educated and poorly skilled. Their school years are behind them. Their highest priority is just earning enough money to support their families. So what we're likely to see is that the people who are here now are going to continue in low-skilled jobs that pay low wages. And once they attain legal status in the United States, they will then gain access to a lot of government means-tested programs and services. They will be paying taxes, but at a very, very low rate. And in fact, what we have found, what the IRS tells us, is that 47% of households in the United States don't pay any federal income tax because their incomes are too low or they have too many deductions. This is a group of people who is likely to join that group of the 47%.
You know, I'd like to jump in here, Ira. I absolutely hear what you're saying, and Richard, I hear what you're saying. The bottom line is that there has got to be some balance. Some of what you're saying is absolutely true. There are immigrants that will come to this country. This country is based on immigration. That is who every single one of us was, even from the founding fathers of this country. So if you look at it, there's been tremendous improvement from many, many hundreds of years ago when the first immigrant landed, in this country to now, and people have bettered themselves. But I personally have a very strong opinion about immigration generally, not only in this country, but in other countries. For example, you look at Europe, you look at England. it's nearly impossible these days, at least within the last years, particularly since the economy has really tanked. They have put in place a system that allows people to enter, and it's called the Highly Skilled Migrant Worker Visa program. Now that name has changed, but the bottom line is that what they're doing is they're assessing people of their potential and allowing people in. And it's an application process. It's extremely vigorous. It's something that maybe we should consider. That way we can assess people that will really contribute and want to be here and work hard and develop themselves.
And Rupa, you bring up a very good point, and that speaks to compromise. Where is there the area in the middle that everybody can live with? And I'd like to hear from both of you on this. Let me start with you, Richard, since you're sitting right next to me. You know, what parts of the bill, what area do you believe are worth compromising on in order to get some meaningful reform done, but also to get it done, period?
Absolutely. I think they say, you know, if you create a bill that nobody likes, then you've won, right? I think that, you know, for success to happen with the reform bill, there definitely has to be a bipartisan approach, is what we've seen. You know, we've seen the Senate come together in a gang of 8. Marco Rubio, who you mentioned, was part of that gang of 8, and really try to craft a bill that would be marketable to both sides. And I think the Senate has succeeded in that, and markup is actually starting this week on that bill. The two major parts, or I say 3, were 1, the pathway to citizenship, which I think is currently in the bill. It takes about 10 to 13 years, shorter for dreamers, but generally it's if you pay back taxes and you learn English and don't have a criminal record, you can really become a citizen of the United States. The other part is stepping up border security and also kind of domestic enforcement when it comes to E-Verify and the like. And the final part is meeting labor market demands. So as you mentioned, getting high-skilled workers in here who can fill gaps that we have, for example, in the STEM fields or in just general technology, but also agricultural workers. These are things that really are the drivers of the American economy, and I think that the bill addresses that and tries to bring workers to keep the United States competitive.
All right, let me bring you back in here. I'm assuming that you do recognize there's a need for some sort of reform. Where are the areas that you would be willing to compromise? Very briefly, as we're running out of time.
Well, what we need to do is to begin from the premise that our immigration policy is there to serve the interests of the American people. This bill doesn't recognize that. It starts from the interests of the people who broke our laws, from the interests of the people who want to hire cheap labor here in the United States. That's where they start. What we need is a policy that says the reason we have immigration laws is to protect the interests of the American people. We are going to enforce those laws. We are going to institute universal employment verification in this country. We are going to secure our borders first. Once we've kept our promises to the American public, then we can start looking around to see who else we can satisfy.
All right. Ira Mehlman, Richard Andre, thank you both. Appreciate it.